I want to talk a little bit about what is a Khan Academy pilot. As you can imagine, we have a wide array of resources at Khan Academy, and there are a lot of different ways that you could use that within a classroom setting. So I want to take a little bit of time in this video to talk about what we're looking for in our pilots. What are we trying out? What are the areas that we're really experimenting with when it comes to implementing Khan Academy within the classroom? So, overall within Khan Academy, we actually have over 2,400 instructional videos as of July of 2011, and this covers a wide range of topics, including the vast majority of K through 12 math and science, as well as we have videos on history, finance, computer science, and a lot of other subjects, and we're rapidly adding videos pretty much every single day. We also have over 130 practice exercises. Now, these exercises will generate problems. It actually randomly generates an infinite number of problems for the student on a specific topic. And right now it really covers math. It starts from the very basics of math, single digit addition, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and goes all the way through calculus. So we have really the major concepts in K through 12 math, but we're rapidly, again, adding more and more exercises every single day to try to get more and more nuanced and fine-grained concepts that we can assess and have students practice with. And the third element we have are the reports and the dashboards. So what we've done over this past year in conjunction with the pilots in Los Altos schools, we've actually worked with the teachers to understand what type of data do they need to properly diagnose where a student is, and what type of real-time information would be helpful to improve the instruction for a student. And we built out a number of reports and teacher dashboards that a teacher can use, but also the parent or the students or anyone that's tutoring or coaching that student can use. And these reports have information such as how much time has a student spent watching videos, doing exercises within Khan Academy, what problems is the student struggling with, getting too many problems incorrect, where is the student focusing their efforts. So there's a lot of information that students and teachers can use to really inform their learning and create a better, more individualized plan for each student. So you can imagine with all of these various resources, the videos we have, the exercises, the reports, and the dashboards, there's actually quite a few different ways that you can use it within the classroom setting. And I want to really spend a little time in this video talking about what are the different ways and what are the elements that we think will really drive the most compelling in learning for students. So the first way, the first mechanism of using Khan Academy in the classroom that I'd like to talk about is in many ways how we got started, which is as a supplemental resource. And this was kind of what when South first started putting videos online, random people, random students would find a Khan Academy video, and maybe they were taking a class, whether it was biology or math, and they were struggling with limits or fractions, and they found the video when they didn't have access to the teacher, and they would watch a short 10-minute lecture, 10-minute video, really helping them understand that concept. So if you think about what's actually happening in this model, and if we break it down into the classroom time that the student experiences, this blue box here is the class time, and also the home time. What does the student actually do at home? In this model, the class time really is the traditional model. So you would do in the classroom what you really always done in the classroom, and that's probably some amount of lectures, some amount of discussion, and potentially other things in the traditional models, some projects and other things. And what the student would do at home is they would actually still have homework, the same way they typically get homework today, but they would have Khan Academy as this supplemental resource. So if they didn't understand a concept, they would have the ability to watch the videos on Khan Academy, and this green area is Khan Academy. And the way the teacher would facilitate this is as the teacher is going through and teaching a specific unit, having the lectures, the teacher might point the student to these videos and these resources, maybe also the exercises within Khan Academy, and tell the student if you're struggling with your homework, go watch this video and see if that helps you. But in general, it's typically, for the most part, kind of the traditional model of instruction from the teacher's perspective. Now, the second model that you can imagine is kind of what people have started calling flipping the classroom. And in this model, what the teacher would actually do is leverage the videos as one of the core ways to drive the instruction with the students. So again, if I break down the classroom time as well as the home time, in this model you really have the videos playing a much more prominent role, and typically would be the only type of work that a teacher would give. And the teacher would basically say, I'm not gonna teach the lecture on irrational numbers. Why don't you go on Khan Academy and watch that video? And now when we actually come into class, let's actually discuss it, or let's actually do problems. So instead of giving homework like the teacher would do in the traditional model, they might actually do, let me call that room work, which is really the same thing, but instead of trying to tackle problems in isolation, the student would now actually do the problems in the classroom where they had their peers and the teacher to rely on. And then also in this model, the teacher would drive much more discussion of the concepts, and the idea here being you really were able to eliminate this component of it. So we really took the lectures and moved the lectures outside of the school time, and that really freed up the class time to do much more interactive activities. Now, the third model and this is really the model that we've been piloting in Los Altos, is what I would call a real individualized mastery-based learning model. And there's a very important distinction that I want to make here, because in all of these models, you're actually using videos, you're using the computer. So a lot of people think about Khan Academy as really being this resource of videos or online instruction, might look at it and say, well, these are all really the same. But there's a really fundamental difference between these various models. And the most important thing is these are still whole group instruction. So as a supplemental resource, the teacher is still going in there and providing a lecture to the entire class. And as with any type of whole group instruction, and obviously great teachers find a way to try to do this effectively, but it's a very difficult model because you will always have some students in the class who may not have really understood the prerequisite concepts, and they're not really ready to engage in the discussion or listen and absorb the lecture. Or there's going to be another set of students that already mastered this concept and is a little bored. So in this model, it's still the typical whole group instruction, kind of that one-to-many lecture model. In this flipped classroom, it is actually still whole group instruction. So what the teacher would do is they still kind of march through a specific curriculum and would say, everybody watch this video. Now, instead of doing it in the classroom, everybody's doing it at home. But really, at the on a specific day, whether on February 12th, all the students would typically watch the same video, and then within the classroom time, the most of the interactions would still be focused on everybody, the whole group, kind of working on the same concepts. In the model that we were piloting in Los Altos last year, and the model that we're interested in really exploring, because we think there's a lot of potential in this individualized mastery-based model. The way it actually works is when a student is at home, they would actually watch the videos and do the practice using our exercises. So in this model, you don't actually have the old notion of homework. Videos and the exercises really is, sorry, it's a little messy practice there, but the videos and the exercises really is what the student does at home. And there's implications here, which is the student would need to have access to a computer after school, whether it's at home or in the library or in an after school program, so that they can actually do this. And then within the classroom time, it's actually a very different model. Potentially you can have some amount of the classroom time still being on the video and practices and using kind of Khan in within the classroom. But really the focus of this model is to liberate the teacher to focus on trying to drive, expanding this time to as much of the human interactions as possible. And I'll spend a little bit more time in the next video talking about what these human interactions are and how it would work. But really, the idea here is a teacher would come in, they will look at a dashboard, they will look at where each and every student is, what videos they watch, what exercises they have practiced, and then within the classroom they would do more interesting things. They would potentially take out the students that are struggling on specific topics for one-on-one tutoring, or they would take a set of students, maybe the 5 students that haven't mastered a particular concept, and bring them out and have just small group instruction with those students. Or maybe they'll see that one student has mastered the concept, another student is still working on it, and they would actually pair the 2 students together and have them peer tutor each other. Or maybe they'll see, the teacher would actually see all of the students in the class have mastered a specific concept, and the teacher wants to drive much deeper learning. So they would do a project, project-based work with the whole class. And typically that's difficult to do, because if a few students don't have the core skills, it's hard for them to get as much out of that project as the other students. But now the teacher would have the dashboard to see, yes, all the students are ready for that project. They've all built those core skills, and I can use that time to do project-based learning. So the core of this model, and the real essence of it in our view, is that individualization. That is it, really kind of the guiding principle here. And the whole notion with this model that on September 15th, you really don't know exactly beforehand what you're going to teach. In both of these models, you can go in and say, well, on September 15th, I'm going to teach exactly this unit and cover these concepts. In this model, on September 15th, what you would actually have to do is look the day before, look at the dashboards and the reports, and then figure out what is the most optimal interactions that you want to have in your classroom to promote the deeper learning on an individual basis. The other thing that's important that I want to talk a little bit about is the idea of mastery. In both of these models, in any model that really is this whole group instruction, you always have the challenge of a handful of kids, maybe it's 5%, 10%, worst case, in some cases it might be as high as 50% of the students really haven't mastered that concept. But, because a large number of the students have mastered it, we have to move on. And what ends up happening is you have students who may not have really mastered the concept, but are moving on to the next concept and getting these Swiss cheese gaps in their learning. When you really have this individualization of content, you can actually avoid that. You can allow kids to take as much time as they need to master specific concepts, or if they don't need much time, they can move forward and move ahead. And you really focus on, at an individual level where they need to be in order to really master everything before they move on. And that is particularly important in math, where concepts really and truly build upon each other, and it's very difficult to master later concepts if you don't have a core foundation that you can rely on. So in the next video, I'll talk a little bit more what the role of the teacher is in these human interactions. But I just wanted to really stress the point that Khan Academy really isn't just about videos and using the computer or doing practice on the exercises, because there are so many different ways that you can do it. In our view, the videos, practice, and reports are really all about tools to drive this individualized mastery-based learning model.